Yes, the important thing is get rid of the excess CO2. Since this person has too much acid in their bloodstream, the only thing we can do is alter CO2 levels. We can't alter the bicarbonate or the hydrogens directly through breathing, but we can remove that acid through the CO2, leaving our bodies of exhalation.
So when the CO2 is moved, the hydrogen ions will move with it?
Yes, so if you take out the CO2, you get less of that and less of that. So if you get more of that, then you also get more CO2, which is going to trigger your respiratory center to breathe faster. So that whole thing is linked. All of them increase or all of them will decrease.
So the acidity of the blood is depending on how it feels.
Yes. That's one thing for it. Then there's also, of course, issues like fat breaking down into sugars creates acid, and that has nothing to do with breathing. So there can be two different causes.
Fat breakdown into sugar, that's
ketoacidosis.
yeah.
Ketoacidosis, yeah. Or there could be tons of other things that can influence blood pH, but these are the only two ways we have to fix it. To get rid of it, at least. The last scenario would be a case of metabolic alkalosis. And in this case, blood pH is too alkaline.
So you want to decrease the pH.
Compensation is decreased.
So just hold your breath.
So you hold on to CO2.
Let's breathe.
Hypo, yeah.
Or rebreather.
Mm-hmm.
Or rebreather.
A rebreather.
If you've got somebody who takes antacids all the time, PICT0001, Alka-Seltzer all the time after every single meal, this person sends themselves into metabolic alkalosis. Since the renal system is overwhelmed and perhaps unable to handle this pH imbalance, one of the compensations then is to breathe slower. Because your blood is currently too alkaline, what does breathing slower help do?
Wow. This is the day.
I'm waiting for them to see this in the chest. I was about to go.
No kidding. I'm like, oh, please.
We have 2 more seconds.
We're going to be teaching out of the wall right there. Course of war. Okay. Wait, I need to go on.
Hey, that's kind of water. You don't really know what to do.
No kidding.
You can't understand it.
Well, okay, so here's the big picture of what you want to do. You want to be able to diagnose a problem and say, I've got a carbon dioxide level that's out of range, like we did in here Thursday a week ago. I've got bicarbonate that's actually out of range, and the pH matches the disorder or the imbalance for that particular system. So if you have a match here with carbon dioxide in pH, we know it's a respiratory disorder. However, if you have a match of the pH imbalance and the bicarb imbalance, you know it's in a metabolic disorder. What happens if you get, say, acidosis pH, acidosis for bicarb, but you get alkalosis for, say, carbon dioxide levels?
Majority wins.
The majority wins, so the metabolic's the problem, right? What's the respiratory system doing? Compensating. What if you get bicarb acid, pH acid, and normal CO2? No compensation, without compensation. And like I mentioned, it sometimes takes minutes, hours, or up to a day for the systems to compensate. So you could have somebody who's got an imbalance, and the opposite system is not quite yet compensating. Okay, so bicarb indicates a metabolic imbalance. CO2 imbalances indicate a respiratory problem. What do you want to ultimately feel comfortable with? Okay, we got it. You ultimately want to feel comfortable diagnosing, giving the general compensation, something like respiratory acidosis or metabolic gout, and then giving the specific compensation, what you're going to actually see or witness happening to that person. This actually brings you up to where we started in our last class period. So let's flip on over to the chart. Page 137 summarizes all this information. There's only 4 problems and only 4 fixes, and you'll notice the opposite system and the opposite pH condition is the compensation for those problems. On page 136, or 138, however, is a practice page where I've given you values. You have to diagnose the imbalance, provide the general compensation, and the specific compensation are things like increasing or decreasing reabsorption and secretion, or specific compensations could include changing pH levels by breathing faster or breathing slower. Have you had a chance to look at this stuff yet? Some? Okay. Why don't you take a look at this? Let's go ahead and work on, say, problems number 1 and 2 here. Let's see how you do with those. Don't look at the answers at the bottom yet, right? Page 132, let's try problems number 1 and 2. What page? Page 138. Try problems 1 and 2. Starting to make me wonder if it's just a test.
I know, right?
Maybe they're having auditions.
Maybe.
I think it's clearer the 3rd time. You see how it got clearer?
I heard siesta. Can we take a nap?
Sure.